إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أعاذني الله وإياكم أجمعين من النار. My brothers and sisters at home, as we can't do Friday prayer in the masjid as we'd like to, we bring it to you online inshallah so we can benefit from the knowledge, and we're reminded by some of the things that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has brought to us and our ummah. And what I'll be talking about today, something that I've spoken about many times before, and this is some of the Sunnan that the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to perform that might be abandoned during this day of time. Now there are some things that some of these Sunnan, some of us are doing, or most of us are doing, but there might be one or two that we might have forgotten about, or something we didn't know, and we'd like to implement that while we're in lockdown now, while we're focusing. Everyone's focusing either on their studying or their health, and one big focus we should be focusing on is our faith and our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the goal of today, my brothers and sisters, is to try and revive these Sunnan. And when we revive these Sunnan, it helps us reach a level of khushu', or a level of contemplation that we need in our salah and in our acts of worship. Now, I will probably be talking about 20 Sunnan, around 20 Sunnan. And some of you know these, some of you might have not come across these before. So the first one is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He used to brush his teeth with an item called a siwak, which is kind of like a branch, like a kind of a stick thing. And he used to do that, and he used to do it with his left hand. So this is something we are encouraged to do. Number two, dates is something very, very important in the Arabian Peninsula. It's one of them, part of their main diet. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to eat a lot of dates, and you would see, if you go to the mosque and you would break your fast, some people would use their hands to spit out the date, others would spit it in a cup, or people might have just spit it on the floor where they're eating. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to use his fingers to take the seed out of his mouth. So if we're performing this, then we are actually receiving ajr for performing the sunnah. Now, number three is making your dua when you wake up. Asbahna wa asbahal mulku lillah. You do your wudu right before you sleep. So you make your dua when you wake up, you make your dua when you sleep, but you do your wudu before you sleep, and increase in your remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number four, we see this quite a bit in the masjid where people come and stand in front of a pole when they're praying. Sometimes we see people put a chair in front of them. Other times, nothing is really in front of them. So the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to place an object to identify the parameters of your salah. So you place an object in front of you so no one can cross into you and cut your prayer. Number five, and this is something we can easily do, especially when we're outside. I know it's something we can't do now, but it's something when we're outside at a family barbecue, at a family gathering. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to pray with his shoes on. So this is a sunnah that it is highly recommended to follow through. So when we do our wudu, depending on you want to do without your socks, on your socks, put your shoes back on and then pray from there. Number six, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he would wake up, he used to shake his linen that was on the bed. He would get up and he would shake it a number of times for a number of health reasons. So when we perform these small sunnah, we kind of incorporate them into our daily lives, especially now in lockdown. We get used to doing these, and then the point is, my brothers, not only to reach contemplation of khushu', is on the Day of Judgment, you'd want to come with a mountain of good deeds and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where these good deeds have come from. Number seven, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged us to write the will and place it under our pillow, or update it and place it under our pillow, because we don't know when our time will be up. Number 8, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would encourage us to do this as well. The dua, Subhan al-Malik al-Quddus, he would ask us to say it 3 times, and on the 3rd time we would raise our voice doing so. Number 9 is sleeping on our right hand side. A lot of people that I know tend to do this. They sleep on their back or they sleep on their right hand side. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it was a sunnah. We receive ajr for actually sleeping on our right hand side as opposed to sleeping on our left hand side, which we shouldn't, or on our stomach. Number 10, and this is also for a health reason, something we should get into the habit of doing. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after drinking his yogurt or any dairy product, he used to wash out his mouth with water. Now number 11, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would, after traveling, he would encourage us to head to the masjid. Head to the masjid, pray. So when you're returning home from travel, instead of going straight home, you head to the masjid, you pray a 2 rak'at of sunnah, and then you head home and complete your journey. This is something that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged. Back in the day it would be a lot easier because you're traveling long distances and you'd end up, there's a high chance of you crossing your house, crossing the mosque before you cross your house. So a lot of people would stop, they would pray, and they would perform this sunnah, and this is something that we should be doing as well. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. My brothers and sisters, the good thing about doing this on video is that we can pause and rewind and fast forward with the Sunnan that we might be interested in to kind of incorporate, even if we just incorporate one into our daily lives. This is something really good, so we can get into the habit of doing this. Now number 12, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us that we should verify the number of washes that we do during our wudu. Now we're taught to do 3, and the point of doing this is super important. When we verify that we're going to do 1, or we're going to do 2, or we're going to do 3, there's 3 avenues of receiving ajr here. The first is having a niyyah. When you have your intention, you receive your ajr. The second is actually performing the ibadah, performing what it is that you're doing, which is making the wudu. And the third is performing a sunnah. So you're receiving 3 different forms of hasanat by completing one action. So just by verifying the number of wipes you're going to do or washes you're going to do during wudu, you would have 3 avenues of hasanat, hence have mountains and mountains and mountains of good deeds on the Day of Judgment, inshallah. Now, number 13 is to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala once you finish your wudu, or when you finish a meeting, or when you finish reciting the Quran. Number 14, dua. This is where a lot of us tend to kind of lose our khushu', our contemplation when we're praying. We come up from the first rak'ah, we go down for the second rak'ah, and then we are doing our tashahhud. Now once we finish our tashahhud and the imam hasn't finished his tashahhud yet, we tend to kind of think about life, or not think about what we're doing in our prayer, and we sometimes lose our khushu'. The best thing to do here, and the sunnah to do here, is to make dua during that time. So once we finish our tashahhud, we're waiting for the imam to get up, this is the time we make our dua. Number 15, we reply salam. When someone walks into us, we reply our salam. But if we are praying, then we are to reply our salam by lifting our hands. If we have our hands on us, that's the best way to do it. We don't respond salam while we're in our prayer because we're in khushu' and we're in our prayer, but we just lift our hands acknowledging their salam. Now, number 16, we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from shaitan anytime we have doubt during our prayer. So every time we lose our khushu', every time we think of something else, every time we lose track of where we are in our prayer, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the shaitan by saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and then we kind of realign our focus on our prayer. And number 17, and this is something that we should, especially now that we're all in the household together and people are in different parts of the house, something that's very, very common. If someone calls you while you are praying, if you're a man, you respond by saying Subhanallah. This is something that's important that we teach our kids. That response means I'm not going to respond to you because I am praying. So you have to wait until I finish my prayer. Or if you're a lady, then you would clap on your hand or on your thigh. But it's something important that we teach our children and our families this. So when we are praying, they don't keep on calling you and lose your khushu' and whatnot. Now, number 18, and this is very similar to the one with wudu. We verify when we're going to do our takbir in our prayer. What I mean by this is, are we going to do our takbir before we move our hands? Are we going to do takbir while we're moving our hands? Or are we going to move our hands and then perform our takbir? This is for our sujood and all of those sorts of stuff, our ruku' and all of that. So you verify which takbir you're going to be doing. Rasulullah used to mix this up so his focus wouldn't be a chore. When we're doing this, we're used to one sort of way. So we have our intention of verifying how we're going to do it, one avenue of hasanat. We have the action itself, and we have the fact that we're performing the sunnah. Number 19, also very similar concept, where we are not doing this as a chore, where we are mixing things up. So Rasulullah used to tell us to vary our tasbih after our salah. Not as a one kind of script that we have in our mind. He used to vary our tasbih, receive ajr for intention, receive ajr for sunnah, and receive ajr for performing the act. Now number 20, my brother, something that is very, very important now that we're in lockdown and we haven't had the opportunity to pay sadaqah, as we would usually do. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I usually remind you guys every time if you come and pray in Auburn Town Hall, to give your sadaqah using your right hand. I know the box is on the left, and you'd normally just go easily drop it into the left using your left hand, but take an effort to use your right hand when you're tapping, when you're putting it in. Make a dua for what you need from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you are sacrificing from your wealth. And just remember that the money touches the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, before it touches the bottom of that box. So it's so important that we use our right hand, my brothers, when we're putting it in there. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make things easier for us, to make these trials and tribulations easier for us. We'll receive ajr for sunnah, we'll receive ajr for the sadaqah itself, the ibadah, and receive ajr for intentions. And brothers and sisters, I know we're stuck during this lockdown. Let's make the most of what we can on a spiritual level. I know we're focusing on the house with renovations, or let's focus on our learning and our education and our family. But let's not forget the most important part, which is our spirituality and our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هذا وصلوا وسلموا على من أمرتم بالصلاة عليه. قال تعالى إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. جزاكم الله خير.